Hello, everybody. My name is Ed Rocha, and I am super excited to be with you. I am the director and founder of, or what am I? Master coach of the Morning Goals, and I'm here with one of my colleagues, Coddy. Hi, Coddy.
Hi.
Okay, so this is our first stream video, and also we're actually on Clubhouse right now. And we're going to start doing this on a regular basis to discuss life coaching, business coaching, consulting, running a business, and different things. So I'm going to start by just telling you all a little bit about myself. So again, my name is Ed. I have an undergraduate degree from Harvard, a master's in science and management from Boston University, and I'm a master certified professional coach with a ICF certified institute called CLCI. And I got into coaching, Coddy, because I wanted to use all of this knowledge that I've been accumulating over the years and help people expand primarily their businesses. And today we're going to talk a little bit about different types of coaching and what people are supposed to do or don't do. But if you have always wanted to do coaching, things that you should kind of think about. And Coddy is going to introduce himself in a second, but then his job during the session is to actually ask me some questions that you might be wondering. But my journey started off as a consultant and a contractor. So I worked in finance. I run my own education company. And one of the things that I like to do is help people grow their companies, turn their side hustles into actual businesses, create marketing plans. So all of those things are very tangible. So actually, when I'm sitting in a room with a bunch of life coaches, my business and my niches might not sound as fun or as exciting as some of the other niches that are out there or what people practice. But inevitably, as you're starting your business, I'm first and foremost a business coach, but your life is part of that process, right? How we, why we're doing this, how we're doing this, how we're going to fund this, and what it's for is important. And so, as COVID hit, I decided to figure out a way to help myself first and foremost, and my friends and family and colleagues. And I launched a 9 a.m. goal setting group that has been meeting for a year now. It started right at the pandemic. And part of it was I was trying to figure out how could I stay productive. So I know myself, and when I get depressed, I sleep. And so I was like, okay, if we don't have to go to work or show up for anything and we're locked down for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, there's a level of uncertainty. I'm just going to be sleeping. And I was like, I need to stop this right now. And I had this idea of starting a Facebook group. But most importantly, I have all of this fancy software through my company. And I wanted to talk to people about, help people set goals. And we started the goal setting. The most important thing was wake up. It sounds silly, but wake up, take a shower, put on some clothes, and then show up. And then during these goal setting sessions, what we did was everybody came with 3 goals, just 3 things they wanted to do that day. It doesn't matter if it was like eat your Cheerios or sweep the floor or wipe in front of you. 3 goals. And then what they were grateful for. And just that routine and that little direction has been so powerful for the 10, 15 people that have done it. Some of us got COVID. Some of us have finally gotten our vaccines or parts of our vaccine, and we're still meeting. And so what we realized was the emotional toll that COVID had on us. Whether we realized it or not, we realized that we needed some human interaction that was outside of our quarantine. And so these strangers who some of us had never met each other, what we wanted to do is we wanted to we created a family. And, there was an observation in one of our sessions, like 6 months into the goal setting group, was that I talk to you more than I talk to my husband or wife. you know more about me than my husband and wife, because we're sharing feelings and we're sharing stories, and we don't necessarily have that sort of that me time. And so for a lot of these people, it was me time. And so this is people of all walks of life. And the only connection they had was me. They necessarily didn't know each other. Some of them knew me peripherally. So I met one guy in the woods at a festival, and he was my Facebook friend. And I saw me post online about the goal setting things. Like, hey, I'm going to check it out. And his husband was always there the entire time during quarantine, and he never invited him. We would see him in the background, but that's sort of, he needed something for himself, right, in that moment. And I sort of acknowledge that, because I think it's okay for us, as we talk about life coaching, that you're doing this for yourself. So then I wanted to level up, and I because I was posting so much of the goal setting group, people thought that I was a professional life coach at that time. And what I was actually doing was leaning on my teaching skills and leaning on my master's in management skills and my business experience. But I was like, how can I help these people? What tools? I know this is a free thing at the time, or still is, but how could I help these people? And that's when a friend of mine, Andrea Cinnamond, invited me to a coaching group with some elite coaches. And after following them and seeing some of them sort of expand their journey, I was like, you know what, I think I can do this professionally. I've been doing it in one form or fashion, but now I want to sort of focus on the person and helping these people find answers within themselves to expand their businesses. And Cody, that's my story. What's your story?
Yeah. So hello, I'm Cody. I am one of the most recent hires to the Morning Goals.
Well, welcome.
Thank you very much. And before I jump to my story, for those of you joining us on Facebook, we're also streaming on Clubhouse, and we have Ashley who just joined. So hi,
Hello,
Ashley.
Ashley.
So my story. I am a nomad. I've traveled, pretty much full time for the last decade. And have really worked in that time period to help remove barriers for other people to kind of pursue that, because I would talk to people and they would say, I really want to do that, but I just can't. And my response was always, well, if I can do it, you can do it. So that kind of became a platform, and it led to my most recent kind of venture, which is Unearthing Fernway. Which follows kind of my story as a full-time van lifer now. I bought a van, I converted it, and now I travel full-time with that. That led me into kind of the social media growth and development sphere. And as I was looking to expand my online work to make sure that I was financially taken care of during this venture, I stumbled across the Morning Goals. And the rest is history for the last 3 weeks now.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that was my fault.
Okay, I thought that was me. So yeah, that's a little bit about who I am. And so I am on the same journey as a lot of you, kind of learning about Ed and what he's doing and what the Morning Goals is all about. So it just seemed to fit really well that I would be here today to
awesome.
probe your brain a little bit.
Cody, you know why the only reason you got hired, right?
Because of my good looks.
Your dream.
My dream. Yeah. So, funny story. I'm one of those people who don't dream. I know they say everyone dreams. I don't know. I don't really believe that. I like to think my memory is really good. So if I dreamed it, I would remember it. But every now and then I have these really intense dreams that I, just have to pay attention to. And they always kind of come to fruition in one way or the other. And so about a month before I applied to work with Ed, I had this really just vivid, intense dream where I was life coaching and helping people in that sort of regard. And I just couldn't get it out of my head. I never thought about life coaching. I had worked in the past at universities helping people remove barriers to education. but life coaching was just off my radar until that dream. And so I started looking into it, and I applied to work um, at the Morning Goals unknowingly because the application was labeled for role of languages. And so it wasn't until I was actually interviewing that I realized that things had kind of come full circle. And it was for a position with the Morning Goals as a life coaching agency. And so it's just one of those weird instances that
If
things
you
just work out.
manifest it, you believe it, it'll happen, right? And Cody
Yeah.
must have sent out the energetic waves out there to the world, and brought them into the Morning Goals. So super blessed about that, and serendipitous that's happening. It's been a fantastic fit as you wrap up your first month of work with us. But okay, so everybody, this is our first official Clubhouse. We did the test last week, which was actually kind of fun, and we're going to be doing this. And so we are streaming live on Facebook and eventually YouTube, and we're doing a series. This will be every week, and today's topic is what is life coaching, right? And so a lot of times, so there's a couple of things. So I come from this from also a cultural background, number one. And so some of the things I say are from my lens. And I think as we're talking about like diversity and inclusion, we need to acknowledge that some of these things may not be as inclusive, or where there's a fear of like participating in some of these things because we think it's not, it doesn't fit into our cultural spectrum, and I think that's something to acknowledge. And I say that because I have gone to I'm Latino, and I've gone to primarily white institutions, and are in spaces that are generally white, and so I always thought life coaching was for white women, and to be honest, and I want to say that because there is there's a perception that that's what it is. So let's but it's for everybody. I guess that's kind of the point of that statement, is that life coaching is for everybody. It doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't matter what background you are. What I tell everybody is that life coaching, it allows you to have your own cheerleader, your own coach, your own motivator, somebody for you on your team. And during all of my sessions with my clients, I talk about finding cheerleaders to help you do what you need to do. So coaching, consulting, and therapy, and those are kind of the three things I'm going to sort of compare coaching to. And over the next week, we're going to kind of talk a little bit about what is consulting and business consulting, and how does that different than coaching. So the first thing takeaway is that coaching starts now. We want to bring you into the present. We want you to think about what's happening right now in your life or your business, and we want to move you forward. And I actually heard another coach say that before I was an actual coach. I'm like, well, that's silly, because how can we not talk about the past? Because that's what's defined us or got us to where we're at, right? But generally, those things that has happened in the past, that whether it's trauma, whether it's your childhood, whether it's a relationship, those are things that you might still need to process, but that is not my job as a coach. My job is to take you right now and start moving you forward, or helping you, guide you moving forward. And so guiding, I think, is a good word to sort of to figure out how, as what people need. So one, start now and move forward. The second part about it is that coaches believe that you have the answers inside of yourself. So while I have my opinions and I have my business experience, the philosophy behind it is you have all the answers. So using you, Cody, as an example, since I'm staring at you in our camera, your marketing plan. You've already done the research. You've already Googled other people and stalked other people and analyzed other people and said, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want this and this, and you already have that. What you might not have done is put it on paper and seen it. What you might have been doing is realize that you had a fear to act on those strategies, because one, you think they're out of your reach. Two, you think it might be silly or embarrassing, or you're embarrassed to do it, or three, you just think you can't do it. And so it's my job to say, okay, you have those answers already. you've thought about it not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 100 times. Hey, let's kind of think about why aren't you doing this, or what happens if you do it, right? And generally, people have these aha moments of like, wow, and I use myself as an example all the time. So I've thought about being a published author my entire life. And so as part of my brand, as part of like my mission in life. And so I had always thought also about hiring a coach for myself. Thought about it, Googled it, looked it up, knew some coaches, had some peripheral discussions, and never acted on it, right? And I always say that there's a time and place for all of us, right? And so I might be and so I wasn't just ready to accept that I needed to start forming my team, my cheerleaders, my coach, and all that stuff. And so finally, I had actually met this woman at a conference 3 or 4 years ago. And one of her businesses her name is Jen T. Grace, amazing woman. But her name of her company is what stuck out. And she was called the Professional Lesbian, trademarked. And I liked that. And I was like, and she was helping companies become more inclusive, before this whole D&I stuff was happening, diversity and inclusion, like on the bigger grand scale things. And I thought to myself, if I ever hired a coach, I'm going to hire the Professional Lesbian. And then randomly, I was driving my car. This was about 3 months before COVID happened, so like in December of 2019. And I had heard a ding on my phone. I looked at it because I was at a stoplight, and the message was from Jen T. Grace, whose other business is Publish Your Purpose, which is a publishing house. And she's a publishing coach, and she had niched down into publishing. And the tagline was, "Call me if you want to publish your book." So I immediately picked up the phone. I put her on Bluetooth, and I called her and I said, "Jen, I don't know if you remember me. My name is Ed. We were speaking at a conference a few years ago. I've kept your information. You popped up, and I want to publish my book." And she goes, "Great. I cost $400 an hour." And I'm like, "Great. Let's do it." But, for those of you who are on Clubhouse and not seeing this, but, I published a series of workbooks for my language company. And the third one just got published. So this series is going to be a series of 6 workbooks that we're selling to our students. I published 2 of a series of children's books. We had our first launch online this last on Tuesday. I have a series of picture books that have 2 of them are already out. And because of that $400 an hour, it sounds like a lot of money, and it is. It's a rent payment for some of you, or a mortgage payment, or a car payment. I was able to pique the interest of 2 investment firms who possibly want to buy my company. Right. Now, whether it happens or not, I don't know, but I am now a published author. We have through Jen's help, I designed my company to be a publishing house for multicultural, multilingual books. So whether I can now expand that part of the business, I can keep producing and publishing my own books. And if I hired a team to help with that and that part of the business. And so I use that example and myself because I worked with Jen for a year and 3 months, and I fired her on March 1st. And it wasn't a firing, to be honest. It was sort of like, okay, I've reached everything I can with her, and her job as a coach, if she's a great coach, wasn't just to keep charging me money and sort of having this awkward divorce, was saying, hey, I think I've helped you all that I can. Maybe you should go into the world, my child, and go do your own things, or, go do something, hire a different type of coach. And so what I've realized is right now, what I need right now is a productivity coach, or productivity program because I'm now getting busier. We're about to go back into the real world. And I just paid a subscription to a fantastic, I think I told you this, Coddy, to a fantastic program that I'm now doing in the mornings called Focus Mate. And way cheaper. It's but worth every penny, right? So that's my story. Now, again, now and into the future, you have all the answers, and I am your guide. Now, there are the other thing that I'll talk about. Then Coddy has some planted questions that I want him to sort of just kind of guide us through. Is do you need a certificate to coach? No. The answer is no. However, you should be careful because there's a lot of quote unquote coaches out there that aren't coaches, don't have training, and they might take your money and not help you. And we're going to talk a little bit about what you should be doing with coaching. But the last part about that is that you should see if your coach does have a certificate of some kind. And the largest organization and organizing body is the International Coaching Federation, the ICF. And that's kind of the gold standard of coaching. And so I have my level 1 and level 2 from them, which then allows me from a certified group that allows me to now go to a level 3, if you will, which is the ACC and the PCC and the MCC, and so those are all different levels. But yeah, so I am certified. Does it mean anything? Probably not. But at a minimum, I have spent 80 hours of training with professionals, or 50 hours of training with professionals, and to be able to do that. Okay, Coddy, we have 7 minutes. Take it away. What should people be thinking about with life coaching? Questions. What are some questions you got?
Yeah. So let's say someone comes to you, or they're considering hiring a life coach. What sort of things should they consider before they make that commitment? Because it is a big financial commitment for a lot of folks.
Right. So the question, I'm going to repeat it for our stream on YouTube, on Facebook, is what should people consider, when they're hiring a life coach? So number one, are they certified, or do they have some sort of training that's appealing to you? 2, ask them for references and testimonies from their clients. 3, the cost. Coaching ranges from $25 an hour to $1,000 an hour, and everything in between. I'm a more expensive coach. I charge $250 an hour. And you can find everything in between. There's also group coaching sessions that you might be able to do that are accessible through programs, that might be more financially accessible. But ultimately, you should, if it's talking about, so I'm a business coach. So I take this from the business perspective, but in life coaching, think about, relationships, think about your self-confidence, your leadership skills, your speaking abilities, how you feel, how you're processing things. And before you hire a life coach, or during these process of you interviewing the life coach, ask them, some of their stories, some of their successes and their failures. No kind of, you shouldn't be paying somebody you're uncomfortable with. And coaches should not be taking people that they're uncomfortable with, and vice versa. Because you should, a good coach, I had to refer two clients of mine out to therapy because I felt that they needed to talk about their trauma, and there were some medical issues that is not in my scope of practice. Right. And so making sure that people stay in their lane. So making sure they have a system, right? So if you go, what is your system? Do you do you email me afterwards? Or do you only talk to me during the session, which is okay, but you should leave from that session with a plan or something to be working on or doing, right? So that's kind of what I would say is like, what's their experience? What's their process? You should feel comfortable with them. You should compare coaches. And if you see that the relationship isn't working for you, have a conversation with them immediately, because their job is to be on your side. They are your cheerleader. They're there to help you.
Cool. So the next question then, you talked about the idea of lanes and
Yeah,
having to refer people out. You talked to yourself about having a life coach that was specific to wanting to write those books,
right.
and now you're looking at another life coach. So what would you identify as your niche or
Yeah,
your lane?
yeah,
And who is your ideal client, or what type of
yeah.
client do you see yourself working best with?
Beautiful. So my client, so I'm a business coach, and as of now, I tend to work with creatives, side hustlers, people who want to expand their business. And the way I defined that client is, if you have ever asked that ideal client is, if you ever asked yourself, I have so many, or tell yourself, I have so many ideas, I don't know where to start, or I have so many ideas, I get overwhelmed, I just shut down. You need to call me. Like, that is my bread and butter. Now that could be a baker. It could be, I know Ashley's a photographer. It could be a van lifer nomad. It could be somebody wanting to go to coaching. It could be I work with medical professionals. I work with PhDs who are trying to start a company. Artificial intelligence, so a little bit more of the harder stuff than the life stuff. That's my bread and butter. But if you want to work on yourself spiritually, there's life coaches for that. If you want to work on couples relationships but not do therapy, not worry about the past but focus on getting your relationship forward, LGBTQ issues, there's specialists in that. There's specialists in career transitions and career growth. There's leadership coaches. So figure out kind of what you need right now, and then you can find that those niches.
Perfect. And then maybe time for one more question.
Yeah, sure.
So can you tell us a little bit about what your process looks like when you're actually working with a client?
Yeah, so I'm the number one motivator of your life, and so the process is go visit me at themorninggoals.com. That's at the morning goals is most of our social media stuff, and I give you a free discovery call. So for 30 minutes, and maybe we'll go over. We're just going to talk about, what where you're at, what your needs are, what your goals are, etc. Then I'm very upfront about my costs. I don't want anybody to call me and feel uncomfortable. And so we've divided the packages so that it can be accessible. So I actually have a package that is pretty accessible for people on a monthly basis from a cost perspective. And then once we start meeting, the first question I'll ask you is generally, what would you like to talk about today? And so it might be your marketing plan, it might be your business plan, and then we'll let that guide us through the hour session or the 30-minute session. And then at the end, you get homework, because that's my style. And the homework is coming from you. I've heard it come from you, or I've asked you, what do you think you can do? Or what are the 3 steps you can do this week for this goal? And then you get homework. And then you show up again, and 99% of my clients do their homework and they see progress, and it helps.
Perfect. So I think that's all the time we have. So I'll pass it back to you to close up.
Okay, so everybody, thank you very much for listening to us on Clubhouse. Ashley, you're the greatest. I'm gonna see her next, and then on the live stream, I know we had Coddy kind of paused. I think maybe, hopefully our audio is okay. Cody's going to check it for us. But if you have any questions about life coaching, life coaches coach each other. We have coaches. We're here to help. We can refer you to other people if my personality or my background isn't something you want. We're all about helping the community. So if you're looking for something particular, or if you just want to have a chat with me, let's do it. Have that chat first. That is the scariest step. But once you have that chat with somebody, take action, and then you can figure out your budget and also your timing. So I would have been so much further in my publishing career than I am now had I hired that coach 3 years ago when I thought about it for the first. Now it's 4 years, because I worked with her for 1.5 years. So 4 years ago, had I acted on the thought that I had in my head about hiring her to help me, but it wasn't the right time, which is okay. looking at therapy, looking at the past. But I've published a lot of stuff. I'm still publishing. I have a publishing house. You guys can do the same. So thank you very much, Cody, for being dragged into this project. And I will see you guys on the other side.
Perfect. Thank you.